So now we'll dive a little bit deeper into the Durham Pre-K application. So the application portal is available at this website, so the durhamprek.org. Families will need to register and create an account through SurveyMonkey and SurveyMonkey Apply, and this platform allows families to save their progress and return to finish their application if they need to. And they will be uploading the documents directly into their portal to complete their application. Families will receive notifications through email as long as they verify their email. So that is another thing we really want to highlight, is that to encourage families that they need to verify their email if they would like to receive those notifications that their application is complete, or if it's not complete, all of those have to be sent to a verified email. We encourage you to support families in creating an email address, and this will support the application process and their future communication with teachers and providers. For families that do not want to create an email, you can reach out for alternative access and application appointments through our Durham Pre-K help desk, but we really do encourage, really do want you to encourage families to create an email if they need to. They can create a Gmail or Yahoo email for free, and it is as simple as just creating an email account that we encourage you to help families with. So the Durham Pre-K application page, which was just on the last slide, includes the application, and then the Durham Pre-K info session recordings, and then also our Durham Pre-K interest sheets. These interest sheets are for families that have a 4-year-old that may want us to reach out to them. This can also be for any families that might have not have a 4-year-old and would like to be on the list for next year. We will get those updated once we have a new interest sheets for the next school year. We also have our frequently asked questions, as well as our current 2021-2022 Durham Pre-K application that will be available through the end of April for any families that have a child that was 4 by August 31st of 2021. And all of our videos and information is available in English and Spanish. So this is a brief view of our 2022 to 2023 application timeline. So we are in February right now, where we just held our family info session on the 5th, and our application was opening today. In March is when we begin our virtual screenings, which are required for every family who would like to be considered for Durham Public Schools. So every family that applies before May 13th will be screened virtually. And we are hosting an application event every month, so that we are calling Roll Up and Enroll. So our first one is scheduled for March the 12th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And Roll Up, we have a slide on Roll Up and Enroll, but just this is an opportunity for families to come in person to start an application or complete their application and bring us their documents. We are hosting a second virtual family info session that is solely focused on the selection and placement process. This is scheduled for April the 7th from 6 to 7 p.m. But we are exploring the option of having more than one event. So we will keep you all updated. We will have a second Roll Up and Enroll event, and we're still determining the date for that. And then at the end of April is when families will be able to select their site preferences. And families do need to do this within 5 days of receiving the notification. And again, we will go over this process later in this presentation. In May, we're going to host another application event, Roll Up and Enroll. We're still determining that date. And May the 13th is when our screenings close, or at least that's the date that families need to apply by in order to be considered for all of the slots, meaning that after May the 13th, it's not guaranteed that they would be considered for a slot in Durham Public Schools. And in May, our site preferences continue for families. And then in June, we'll have our final roll up and enroll event. And again, the date is still being determined. And towards mid to late June is when our placement begins, and families have 7 days to accept the seat that they are offered. And after that, they just continue to remain on our wait list if they're outside of that 7-day mark. So these are the required documents for a Durham Pre-K application. That would be proof of age, proof of address, and proof of income, and it has to be 1 month's worth for the entire household. There are other documents that families may be asked to submit when completing an application, and we have a comprehensive list of those documents available on the Families Frequently Asked Questions site of the Durham Pre-K website. But just as an example, any family who indicates that their child has a chronic health condition, they would be asked to submit documents in order to prove that. So that's just one example of a document that may be requested outside of the main 3 that are listed at the top. And so these are just some examples of the documents that we would take from families. So for proof of age, we would take the birth certificate, we would take medical records, and we would take a valid passport. Again, these are just a few examples, and the ones that we find are the most common that families submit. If it's applicable, we do ask that proof of legal guardianship, legal custodianship, or foster care is submitted with the application as well. For proof of address, we would take a utility bill, that is energy or water bill. We would take a valid lease, as long as we can see the name of the person who holds the lease and their signature. We would also take a valid driver's license, as long as the current address is the address on the license. And we would take a mortgage statement. A main question that we get is if there is a family that is living with relatives, or if their name is not on the lease or utility bill, we would ask that they submit the utility bill, and whoever's name is on that bill would just need to write a letter stating that the family resides at their address, and then we would just need the letter to be signed and dated. And then lastly, for proof of income, again, 1 month's worth, we would of course accept pay stubs. So for families that are paid biweekly or twice monthly, we accept 2, we would need 2. And then families that are paid weekly, we would need 4. And families that are just paid monthly, we just need 1. We can accept a letter from the employer as long as the number of hours worked, the hourly rate are listed, and that needs to also be signed and dated. We do accept tax information, and for some instances that is required. And then when applicable, we do need proof of the unemployment benefits that families are receiving or child support letters. And then for any family that does not have any source of income on the application, they would be prompted to sign our statement of no income, in which they would just give a brief explanation for why they have no income, and then they just need to sign it. And that is all done through our SurveyMonkey Apply platform.
Ms. Grace, I have a question concerning income. This is Marissa. Just a question in regard to families that may receive SSI or SSA. How far back can we request, how far back are you requesting that letter to be dated?
So we typically want that letter to be within the past few months.
Okay.
That at the top that they have requested it.
So when you just like maybe 2-3 months?
Yes, typically that's our rule of thumb. And I know on the SSI, it will say at the top the date that that letter was mailed or given to the family. And then after in the statement, it says how long they've been receiving the SSI and SSA. So we just want the date that it was given to the family is when they requested it to be within that 2 to 3 month range.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Grace, I have a question. This is Elisa.
Yes.
So the letter from the employer,
Yes.
does that have to be on letterhead, or can that just be a statement?
It does not, we do prefer it to be on letterhead, but it does not have to be on letterhead. So no, it's not a requirement, just as long, again, we really just need it to say the name of the employer, of course, the number of hours worked and their hourly rate. And then it just needs to be signed and dated. And all of our, that was a good question about earlier, all of our documents, especially income documents and proof of address, we just need those to be within 2 to 3 months is our rule of thumb that families need to submit those. So, you know, we just would not accept pay stubs from over 2 to 3 months ago, just to make sure that they are the most accurate and the most recent. So this is just another list of the proof of income documents that if any families are receiving any of these sources, we need proof of this as well for their income. So this would be workers' compensation, child support, and that is for any child that is in the home, even if it is not the pre-K child. We would need pension of the parent or guardian, SSA and SSI of children, or the parent and guardian, disabilities payments, alimony, commission sales, scholarships and or grants that families are receiving, any sort of financial assistance forms, a 1099 statement, and public assistance. So this is a pretty long list, but again, any family, if they are receiving any of these sources of income, we do require that they provide proof of that. And we do just want to highlight the tax forms are required for families that would like to be considered for Head Start. So that is why we need a 1099 or W-2 statement from families. Just some other instances, since we do require those tax documents for families to be considered for Head Start, if there are situations in which families are paid in cash or are not receiving any sort of pay stubs, so therefore do not have a W-2 form, we do have a form that families can complete. It is called our Statement of No Income Documentation. We ask that families contact our pre-K information desk directly in order to request that document. But we do just want to highlight that families we do have an option for families who may not have tax documentation to still be considered for Head Start. So now we'll move into our selection and placement process. So our site preferences, this process is different this year. So we are still in the process of selecting sites for the 2022-2023 school year. So beginning in April, parents will receive an email from SurveyMonkey Apply, or it'll say from our Durham Pre-K team, about a new task that they need to complete. And this is allowing them to select their site preferences. So families would log back into their SurveyMonkey Apply account, and they would find that 2022-2023 pre-K options task at the top. Families have 5 days after they receive that notification to indicate their top 3 choices. And so when our sites are selected, the site location page of the Durham Pre-K website will be updated and is a great resource for parents. It's an interactive map in which parents can select our sites at the bottom and see where they are in Durham County. And then it will also, families can filter it out based off of what type of site they may want. So that would be an NC Pre-K or Durham Pre-K site, a Head Start site, and a Durham Public School site. They can look at those complete lists and narrow that down. And so a lot of families do have questions about Durham Public Schools, so we just wanted to take some time to highlight the differences in the requirements for DPS. So again, all applications have to be submitted by May 13th, 2022, if a parent wants to be considered for Durham Public Schools. We do accept applications after that May 13th deadline. Again, it's just that if a family applies after that date, a screening is not guaranteed, and a screening is required for a child to go to a Durham Public Schools classroom. So the eligibility, to determine eligibility, Durham Public Schools uses the screening parent questionnaire, and that is still being conducted over the phone this year. They are not in person. So after that, the children are ranked in file order based on those screening scores from highest to lowest, and then they are placed accordingly. And all children who are eligible for Durham Public Schools are going to be placed in the school that's closest to their home address. So this would be the child's base school or the next closest Durham Public Schools location that we have. And placement is made through the Durham Public Schools office only. Families do have the ability on that site preference task that we just talked about to indicate if they would prefer to be placed in a Durham Public Schools. But again, the location preferences will be considered but are not guaranteed. And we say that as a rule of thumb for all of our site preferences. We do try to honor families' preferences and take those into consideration, but they are not guaranteed that a family will be placed at any of the three preferences that they indicate. And just right now, Durham Public Schools is not offering transportation, and they're not offering before and after school care. So that's another key thing that we would like families to know and take into consideration when they are making those preferences and when they are placed in a Durham Public Schools classroom.
Excuse me, I would like to make a statement. Although we can indicate Durham Public Schools as an umbrella for preferences, families will not be able to indicate specific public schools that have pre-K in them as far as preferences. And the placement email will be kind of narrowed down to what they are eligible for, what kind of seat they're eligible for. So families will get a list of sites when they go to select their preference that they're actually eligible for, so that they're not like just indicating preference for sites that they absolutely will not be able to be placed in due to their eligibility. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Jamaica, for saying that. And that's another, just a new feature for our site preferences this year that we are excited about. So just again, to highlight the screening that is required for Durham Public Schools. Again, families should apply by May 13th, and they will complete the developmental screening by phone. Only the parent needs to be present for the phone screening because the screenings will not be held in person at all this year in the spring. Parents and guardians on the application will be asked to indicate the best phone number and the best time of day to receive a screening call. And just a heads up for families is that the call may be private or blocked. So just for them to be aware of that. And then all students will be screened at the beginning of the school year at their assigned program, no matter what. So for families that apply after May 13th, again, they won't be doing the developmental screening by phone. They would wait until if their child is placed in a pre-K site, that is when they would be screened at the beginning of the school year. So for placement, the pre-K partners take all of this information into consideration for each child's placement. So this would be the educational needs of the child. We take into account address, And families on the application are asked to note if they would prefer to be placed closer to home or work. And that's again, all on the site preferences portion of the application. We do take into consideration the siblings' school location. And we do the family's school preferences as listed on the application. Again, just to highlight, those preferences are considered but not guaranteed. We take into consideration if a child meets any of the priority eligibility requirements for pre-K services, and also the need for wrap care. And so that the wrap care again is just before or after school, any care that's needed outside of the traditional 6.5 hours that are provided by all of our sites for pre-K. So this is our Durham Pre-K Information Desk phone number and email. This is the most important phone number for you, and this is the phone number you should be directing families to. Kathy, who is our Durham Pre-K Information Desk counselor, she has all of the answers to questions that family may have, or she has the ability to direct families to the correct pre-K partner to ask those questions. So families can reach out to our information desk to schedule a virtual application appointment. Again, if you remember back to our timeline of the application, March is when we're starting those virtual appointments. And so that application appointment would be a time that families would on the phone be completing the application with the assistance of one of our counselors. So families also can call our 1-800 number to ask any questions about the application process, any questions they have about the documents that are needed for the application. Families that need support completing the application in a language other than English and Spanish, we do have the ability to support those families. And then any families that need to email missing documents for the application, they would send all of those to this pre-k@childcareservices.org email address. So those are just a few ways that our Durham Pre-K Information Desk specifically assists families, but this desk is here to support to answer any questions that families have about the application process and during the application process. And then this is our application questions triage table. So again, this is just a list of who to contact, who parents should contact if they have specific questions. Right now, since we're still in the general questions and application appointments portion of our 2022-2023 application timeline, right now the Durham Pre-K Information Desk is the one phone number that we really want families to know. Once placement begins, this is when they would be getting down into these student placement, scholarship funds, any sort of things that families need, as well as you all as community partners and providers. This is just who you should contact with any questions you might have regarding different parts of Durham Pre-K. And so again, all of this information will be shared after this presentation. So now just a little bit more about our parent notifications for this year. For the SurveyMonkey parent portal, again, it allows families to register with an email address and create an account where they can save their progress and return at their convenience, and then upload their documents when they are ready. Out to the side of it does, through SurveyMonkey Apply, parents can track their progress. It shows how many of the tasks those parents have completed. It also has out to the left, the complete list of each of the different parts of our application that turn from a green circle with a check mark, means that the families didn't miss any questions and everything is good to go. If the circle is half green, half white, that means that something was missed and families need to go back and complete some of the information. including with the documents that families would receive an email or a phone call from our information desk if if we need different documents or if anything is missing. And through SurveyMonkey, parents can receive notifications about the status of their application, but again, they have to verify their email. We are reaching out to families more often and giving them more communication about the status of their application this year. So we do really encourage you all to tell families to register or verify their email or sign up for the text messages, so that families can be certain of where they are in the application process. So again, we have this new texting feature. And again, this is for families who they now have the option to receive text messages from Durham Pre-K. And the topics of these texts include instructions for subscribing to our newsletters, applications, notifications, and alerts, and just general updates and reminders. So families can opt into that by texting DPK to 59925, or they can sign up online. And like Jenna said at the beginning, you all as partners also have the ability to receive these text messages if you just want any other general updates and information about Durham Pre-K and the application. So we are not going to do an application walkthrough together this year, but we do have the Durham Pre-K Family Info Session recording where we did do a application walkthrough with families. And so we completed an application together. Those videos are available in both English and Spanish. So we encourage you to watch them, encourage you to send your families to this webpage with any questions they have when completing the application. Or of course, please direct families to our 1-800 number to schedule an application appointment if they would prefer to have a counselor assist them with the application. So for you all and supporting families, we rely on our community members to support parents in creating and completing an application through the parent portal. So we thank you for your partnership and for helping support those families and getting and applying for Durham Pre-K. So what you should do if a parent does not have an email address, direct them to call our 1-800 number to create or to schedule a virtual application appointment. And we do just want to highlight, please refrain from using your work or personal email on behalf of the family, because you would be the one receiving those notifications and updates on behalf of the family. So we would prefer that you work with the family to set up an email account through Google or Yahoo, any of those services. And if you need any additional support, or families that need any additional support, please have them call again our 1-833-773-5338 phone number and get in contact with Kathy and one of our counselors. So again, we're going to be hosting 4 application events throughout the spring, known as Roll Up and Enroll. This is an opportunity for families to bring any documents that they are missing to complete their application. Families can also bring their documents and start their application with our staff. They would be able to hopefully complete their application right there with our staff, who would be able to just work them through the application. Our first event is again March the 12th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We will be sharing information and our flyers for that event very soon with our community partners. And we just encourage you to tell families about this event. And this is also just an opportunity for any families that may not have been able to go to our family info session and just have some questions. They are able to come out and ask and speak with our staff in person if that is what they would prefer, compared to calling our 1-800 number. So these are just some other resources for families that you may need when you're assisting them with completing an application. So we have NC Care 360, which is the state's referral platform for any families that are looking for resources outside of pre-K, or even if they're looking for other pre-K options, they can contact myself, Grace Smith, at grace@dpfc.net. We have the Child Care Referral Specialist, which is the Child Care Resource and Referral Network through CCSA. We have our the contact information for DSS Child Care Subsidy Program, and then also the Durham Public Schools Multilingual Resource Center. And then lastly, just for any families that, for any providers that are here today, any of your families that are currently enrolled at your site and are going to be ready for kindergarten registration, we have the link to that here. Registration for kindergarten did open on November, late in November. So it is open for families who will be need to send their kids to kindergarten this year. So we ask you to tell families about that. And especially the families that you may currently be serving right now. We also have the link for consumer education on the CCSA website. And specifically, this site does take you to with more information on assistance for paying for childcare for any families that need that support. So we're now going to enter into our questions portion. Again, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question or enter it into the chat box. I know that the chat has been going through this whole presentation, and thank you to those who were able to answer any questions. But right now, it's just an open floor for anyone who has any question about any part of the Durham Pre-K application. Well, if there aren't any questions, we could take a moment and together and just look through the different parts of the application. So would
I
that
have
be?
a question.
Yes.
So sometimes parents will start an application in April and realize in August that they need to start their application again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that they can pick up their income from that point versus going all the way back to March? Because like that becomes a barrier sometimes when they can't get that income from March.
Yes, definitely. We would want them to submit documents that are going to be within 2 to 3 months of whenever they're completing that application. So yes, 100%, we would take any of the pay stubs that were most recent for that family. We would definitely have them submit that. Even if they started the application in April and forgot to finish it and realized in August that they did never finish their application. Yes, definitely we would be able to accept those documents from that time point.
And if they change jobs, we have things in place that we can assist the family in updating their application to the new job so that it'll match the check stubs that they submitted.
Does anyone else have any questions about documents or even about making a SurveyMonkey Apply account? Anything that you all would like to go over as a group today?
I have a question. Do the parents need the original birth certificate?
It can be a copy of it because they are uploading a picture of this into SurveyMonkey Apply. So no, it does not have to be the original. Of course, it just needs to match the name on the application, and the date of birth needs to be within our time frame of eligibility. And then it would need to have the parent's information, unless that child is living with a legal guardian or legal custodian.
So this is Elisa. Grace, just to be clear on the income for everyone who lives in the household, does that include, let's say, boyfriends, grandparents, or, what exactly?
Yes, so for income, we need every parent. Okay, sorry. So if the child is living with a parent who has a significant other, or so boyfriend or girlfriend or partner and they are not married, we would not need that, the income information for the boyfriend, girlfriend, or significant other. We would just need the mom or dad. However, if they are married, that is when we would need both of those parents' income information. And the same thing applies to if the parent is living with a mother and also their grandparents, we would just ask for the mother's information, income information.
Okay, thank you very much.
So one thing that I observe a lot, and this is typically on applications of our Latinx families, many times the partner, it'll be indicated living with partner, and then when we ask what the relationship of the partner is, it actually indicates step parent, like it padrastro. And so, like, if they are actually married, then that's when we need their income. But that is a situation where we need to ask a little bit of question to see if it is actual step parent situation or a boyfriend, girlfriend that we are speaking into existence kind of situation. And even if they're married and the biological parent or whomever the primary parent is indicating, well, this person is not financially responsible for the pre-K child, we still need their income because they're married. And so that's household income. You know how it is when they say, once you sign on the dotted line, is our money and not your money and their money and stuff like that. So we just want to make sure that we assist the families in completing the application as accurately and true as possible, so that we don't run into any problems where there's even the appearance of fraudulent reporting in the application.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Good morning. I had a quick question. Following up to what Ms. Jamaica just stated. So I know last year some families would complete an application, and in that same scenario, they would indicate that it was a step parent, but it wasn't the case. So once they submitted, they weren't able to go back and make any changes. So will they be able to go back and make any changes this year, or how would that look? Because once they submitted, and then come to find out they really aren't married. It was a speak into existence kind of thing. So then when it came to requesting documents, like, oh wait, no, we're not married. But on the application, they stated that, that was a step parent.
Right. So as far as I'm aware, and Christy and Jamaica can correct me if I'm wrong, they would not be able to go back and make those changes once they click submit. However, that is what our help desk is there for. So like Christy just said, they just need to call our 1-800 number, and we can reopen the application for them. And so even if, and then for a family that may have indicated that it's a step parent, but then we find out, later they're asked for missing documentation, we would be reaching out if they didn't provide income information for that to make sure that the family was 100% correct in what documents they provided. But yes, so it's as simple as calling the 1-800 number and we can reopen the application for families. And that goes for any sort of mistakes or misinformation that families may realize after their application is submitted. Just call the 1-800 number. We will reopen it. Families can go in, make any changes, and then click submit again once all of that is updated. Does anyone else have any other questions or even instances that they may have run into when assisting families with completing an application that you would like to clarify? Well, great. I'm glad that we were able to provide enough information for you all. Again, if there are any questions that you have after that may come up when you're completing an application, please feel free to reach out to our help desk or any of our staff, and we would be happy to answer that question for you. And we just thank you for your work and helping families apply for Durham Pre-K. And getting them set up with our SurveyMonkey Apply account. But yes, so as I said, the presentation will be shared with you all that has all of the links that you can direct families to, and do just look on our Durham Pre-K website as well.
And if I just want to say it's really good to see everybody.
Yeah.
And even those who I see your names, but I don't see your faces, it's very good to see you all. Y'all know it's always a treat and pleasure for me at least, to work with the community as well as Head Start staff. And so it's very good to see you all this morning, and thank you all for letting me sit in on this.
And so I do see that Anna dropped in the chat that she wasn't sure if she had missed it, but are we not collecting financial aid for families in school? We do collect that information from families. So any families, and again, for any families that are or any parents that are in school, we do need proof of that. So we would need them to submit their class schedule. And then if they are receiving any sort of scholarships, they would submit documentation for that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, great. If no one, I'm more than willing to hang back for anyone who may have any last minute questions. But if not, we would love to give you back some of your time during the day. Again, we just really encourage you and for you to encourage families, go through and watch our family info session video. If you would like to see a complete walkthrough of how to create a SurveyMonkey Apply account and how to complete the application, that video is available on our website in both English and Spanish. And that is a great tool that we have for you all to be able to just view SurveyMonkey Apply from the viewpoint of a parent who is applying. So again, we thank you for your time today. And yeah, just hope you have a great rest of your day. And we're excited for our 2022-2023 application year.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Grace.
Hi, everyone. Jamaica.
Hey, is this Katia? Is that Katia?
That is Katya. She's in the office. Katya.
Katia.
Turn off your camera. Turn on your camera. She won't. Oh, there.
Oh man, like, hi Katia. I hope you can see me. That makes me so happy to see your name. Anna, if you see her before she hears me saying, I'm excited to see her name.